Are we live? Are we live? Welcome, welcome, welcome to Basketball Heads Live. I am your host, Glenn Pooh Harding. And oh boy, we have a very, very special guest. This basketball head is an author of two of the most important books on Brooklyn basketball. The History of Coney Island Basketball from 1970 to 1980, and Part 2, The History of Coney Island Basketball from 1980 to 1990. This basketball head played JV basketball at William E. Grady High School. You know, the rivals to Abraham Lincoln. But it's all good because we all family. This basketball head was cut when he tried out for varsity in his senior years, but that just made him become a student of the game, which will prepare him later on in life. After high school, he attended Casanova College and graduated with a bachelor's in science and sociology. This basketball head is a basketball historian, especially when it comes to Coney Island basketball history. He has written a script for his upcoming comic book called Coney Island Mix, which will be out October 9th, 2022. I think that's this weekend. So, without further ado, help me welcome to the show, author of The History of Coney Island Basketball from 1970 to 1980, and Part 2 from 1980 to 1990, and the Coney Island Mix comic book, my guy, Delbert. Prince.
Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Yes. You have just stepped out into the world of chaos. Where everybody goes hard. Come on. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Or go home. Never back down. You gotta hold your own. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. East Coast. Go hard. West Coast. Go hard. Midwest. Go hard. Dirty. Hurry up, everybody. Get online. Buy your tickets cause the game about to start.
What's happening? Welcome again to Basketball Heads Live. I am your host, Glenn Pooh Harding, and make sure that you subscribe. Hit that notification button and let all your friends know to come over to YouTube and check out my guy, Delbert Prince, author extraordinaire. What's up, brother? What's happening?
Not much. Just working hard, trying to accomplish goals, trying to make things happen, and hoping that this comic book comes out this weekend. That's the goal. Maybe tomorrow or probably Friday.
Right. Now listen, brother. I wanted to get you up on here because you're such an important part of the fabric of Coney Island basketball. So we want to make sure that people who don't know, right?
Exactly.
And make sure that they're able to cop these two books right here, right? We'll get them on the screen so y'all can see. All right? You got the History of Coney Island Basketball, 1970 to 1980, and 1980 to 1990. Written by my guy. All right? So, what's happening, brother? How you doing? Hold on for a sec. To all my people on YouTube, on Instagram, come over to YouTube and check out my guy, Delbert Prince. All right? That's how it's going down. You know how we do. Merch is here, baby. Make sure y'all cop these basketball head hats, sweatshirts, hoodies, polos, and t-shirts. We got them all in stock. What's happening, my brother, man?
Not much. I'm glad to be on the show.
Listen, I don't know if you watch the show or you know how this works, but the first question I always ask everybody is, who introduced you to the game?
I started watching the game when I was young. going to 288 Park. I know you're familiar with 288 Park. Just going.
Oh yeah,
to 288
yeah.
Park, watching the
Right.
game there, watching it, and I started trying to play ball. I got involved in it, playing it. I mean, there's not really many people who introduced me to the game. I just got involved in it, just playing 21, playing Utah, and playing 2-2s, and got introduced by playing. I mean, I won't say got introduced. I just started playing it, got involved in it. I started
The streets kind of, right? The streets in the neighborhood kind of introduce you to it, right?
Pretty much, yes.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about 21, right? Because I think that game is, don't get as much credit as it should, right? Especially for us here in New York City. And salute to my guy Barbito Garcia, because he has put together the first full court 21 tournament. So you know how we play half court. He has it where it's full court.
Oh wow.
Caught your attention, right?
Yeah.
Think about it. This is why we're able to develop our handles early, because we got 3 or 4 or 5, 6 guys coming at us, and you got to be able to shake those guys to get your points off.
Exactly.
It's a great strategy. That's right. So, kind of look into the camera when you talking, so people can kind of connect. There you go with what you said. So, where in Coney Island are you exactly from?
Ocean Towers.
OT. Come on, man. I'm familiar with the lingo, man. OT. That's right. Yeah. I have family over in the Cary Gardens, and different parts of Coney Island. So, salute to everybody out there.
Mm-hmm. Well,
go ahead.
23rd Street is your specialty, though.
Oh Cary Gardens. for sure. And that court, I that was one of the courts that I started playing on in Coney Island, right there. And this is way before they fixed it up. My brother is one of the founders of Bro Day, along with Slice. Yep.
Okay.
Is Bro Day still a big thing out there?
Not like it used to be. It slowed down within the last 7. It slowed down like about 7 years ago. It slowed down like 7 years ago, Bro Day. It's not like how I say 2015. 2015, I think that was like the last time the big Bro Day. After that, some situation that occurred with the community board. I don't know. I think they didn't want it anymore. I don't know, or it just maybe Slice just kind of cut it off or something. I don't know what's the whole details about that situation.
Yo, Slice, I know you're going to watch this, brother. Bring Bro Day back. I'm gonna talk to my brother Six, and maybe they could do something special, man, because that was their childhood friend who lost his life. So salute to my guy Rick, man. May he rest in peace. So Delbert, man, do you remember the first game you played under the whistle?
In Flames.
The Flames. Yo, you played for the Flames? Yo, you gotta give me some history on that, brother. Come on.
I played in the house league. I didn't play CYO. I played in the house league. I played in the house league. You play against different teams in the house league. I didn't start, but I played. I played. I didn't get that much playing time, and I just played, and I got better.
Listen, that was the breeding ground for ball players. My guy Josie Watkins, 1983, showed up in the Lincoln tryouts with the whole Flames uniforms, and he had all of us intimidated because back then, not too many of us were playing CYO or AAU basketball. I think I played a little bit, but not as good to where I had my uniform to go practice. Man, I had a white T-shirt, some cutoff jeans, a pair of Chuck Taylors, and Josie Watkins came in there. I think he had some Nikes, and then he had the whole Flames uniforms. He had all the fundamentals down. He was way better than a lot of us. So salute to my guy, Josie Watkins, one of my teammates and one of the freshmen that made it that year. And salute to Dave Adebanjo as well. But that's how I first got introduced to the Flames.
So did you play CYO or House League?
I played CYO. Yeah, I played with St. Peter Clavers. I didn't play with the Flames. Remember, I'm from Bed-Stuy, right? Flames was a Coney Island thing, right? So over this side, you play with Victory or St. Peter's Clavers. Yeah.
Right. You're right. Yeah,
yeah.
Because the House League is more local, and CYO you travel all out throughout New York City.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about. Do you remember when you was coming up? Who was the best player in the neighborhood that everyone wanted to be like?
Oh, that's a good question and a hard question.
What was your high school years?
From 89 to 93. All right, that's the era when Grady wanted to. Fresh was considered the best basketball player in that town. Fresh, Flight. I won't say Stephon. I say Fresh, Flight, Leroy Flood. I don't even remember him.
You kind of pause it, so you want to kind of keep either get to a better area because you're kind of freezing up.
You hear what I said? You heard what I said? I said Fresh.
I heard you,
Flight,
but you kind of
Leroy Flood.
Hold on for a sec. Get to a better area because you're freezing up. There you go. I see you. Yeah.
Am I freezing up now?
Nah, you good.
I said Light, Fresh. Remember Leroy Flood?
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure. That's fam right there.
How about?
But who was the guy? Who was the
Juju?
guy? Like I know there was a. Okay, so let's say at that time, Juju was the guy on the Coney Island, right? Juju and Fresh.
Mm-hmm.
But look, can't knock those other guys. Leroy Flood, right? Mike Spence, another guy.
Mike Spence was good. He great, but that question is a question, Glenn, because it could go Juju.
Somebody
Fresh,
said Troy Black said the Sowell brothers, Zaquan. So I'm not familiar with those guys, but the guys that you mentioned, I'm definitely familiar with. Delbert, you gonna have to, because you're freezing up. Are you connected with me? Because
yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
I know you hear me, but you're frozen right now. You probably gonna have to get to a different. Yeah, but you're freezing up. I hear you now, but you're freezing up.
I hear.
Go to a different part of the apartment or your crib because you're freezing up. Testing 1, 2.
I hear you.
All right, so let's try to continue because I think you're still freezing up. I don't see you live.
Yeah.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. We want to make sure that my guy Delbert is straight and he has his camera straight. You there? You there? I can't hear you now. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Get close to your router. Get close to your router. Get close to your router. Wherever your router at is in your house, get close to it. Thanks a lot, Troy. Welcome to Basketball Heads Live. I have author Delbert Prince. He's having some technical difficulties, so we want to make sure he gets straight. I appreciate that, Troy. Tonight we're talking about his books, The History of Coney Island Basketball, and we want to dive a little deep, tonight and get into some of the, people who kind of shaped Coney Island basketball history. All right, so I'm going to see where he's at right now. Hello? Still can't hear you. Check your mic. Make sure your mic is on. I can't hear you. So while he does that, I just want to open up the first part of it. And he named got some great names in here, man. Coney Island mixtape, which I think I got wrong because I forgot the tape part of it in the beginning. But man, he dives into all the outstanding players out there. Derek D. Flight Brown. All right. Who else? Norman Marbury, who was older brother to Stephon. Who else you got? Mike Spencer, my former teammate. All right. See, Mike, that's one guy I wish would have stayed on the team because he brought so much flair and he brought a different aspect to the game to us as a team. And he don't get enough credit as he should. But sometimes things happen and he wasn't able to, stay on the team during that city championship year. And, he was able to do a lot of things out in the tournaments in Coney Island and other places to show people he still had the skills and still had the know-how to produce on the court as one of Coney Island's finest basketball players. I remember coming up at Lincoln and hearing about Eric and Don Marbury. Those are like the starting points for me because I went to Lincoln and those guys were the guys for Lincoln before I got there. Those names we heard throughout the hallways, even though I never played with any of the Marburys, but those are the names that was ringing bells. And Juju and Steph would just come by the school as youngsters and come to the game to see us play as kids before they was able to take reign and take control and keep that Marbury name going. And so many other ball players that I can, name. Norman Richardson, my guy, Mo Brown, who was, I think, New York City a New York State Mr. Basketball at one time, or the New York City Player of the Year. New York City Player of the Year. And also helped take Grady to the state championship. And that's another rivalry that we're going to talk about. What's up? You there, Delbert? Still freezing, still freezing. So we want to make sure that Delbert has got his connection on. I know we had some storms last night, and I want to make sure that his connection is straight before we continue this interview. Thanks to everybody that's on the check-in. Troy Black, Keith Wisdom, what's up? Thank you for checking in. And I tell you, this platform for New York City basketball. We want to bring all kind of people up here who has an input on New York City basketball. Whether you're an author, like my guy Delbert, or former WNBA champion, Nikki McCrimmons, who will be up here soon. Yeah, she autographed these for me. And this is her book, Harlem Queen. So y'all make sure y'all go purchase these books. All right? We have some more down here for some New York City greats. Shamik Cook, Omar Cook brother, right? Shamik Cook, Omar Cook brother, wrote Southside Gangsters. And also, Psyche of the Injured Athlete, The Unspoken Truth by another New York City legend, Dr. Laura Mealy. Right? So we want to make sure that we spread the love and make sure that these authors are being heard, and also, spreading their message and show people that ball players can do more than just play basketball, that there are other sides to us. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, Keith. Thank you. So to all those out there, DM me on Instagram. That's the best way to get to me. I know a lot of people hit me up on Facebook. I'm on all platforms, but I only really check my messages on Instagram because I have so much social media. It's hard to check every message and get them on time every day. So let's bring my guy back to see if he's straight now. Hello? Delbert, what's up?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
I hear you. What's up? You
I
hear
hear
me?
you. Yeah, I hear you. Good. You good. Yeah. So we was talking. That's all right. That's okay. That's okay. Things happen, man. Look, brother, I've done, I think, close to 300 shows so far. So things happen. 2 years, I done experienced it all. So the thing is to keep the show going and make sure that, the people are entertained at the same time, are also being informed. Yes, I've interviewed referees, Troy. I've interviewed referee Yaya, female ref. And I also mess up her name, so I just call her Yaya. I interviewed Earl Robinson and Katrina Plummer. I'm also gonna I have Arizona, who's coming up this month as well, another New York City referee. So I try to get, the whole players, referees, league directors, AAU directors. I even had my guy, Jeff Ward, who's a agent and also on the board of Riverside. So we try to have them all up here. Appreciate that, Troy. And if you have anybody you want to recommend, just hit me up. All right, Del. Let's get back to those guys who kind of had an impact early on you. Those best players in the neighborhood who you saw and who you heard about.
Juju, Fresh. That's near. I start with up in Ocean Towers and Cary Gardens area towards 2007. I would say Fresh. Fresh.
You still freezing up? Okay, you still freezing
Fresh.
up. You still freezing up.
I can hear you good though.
I know, but you every once in a while you're freezing. You're freezing up right now.
Okay.
So you want to get close to wherever your router at is in your house. Make sure you're close by it so you're not freezing up that much. And if you're on your phone, right, you don't need your Wi-Fi on because you can just use your phone Wi-Fi. That's a trick that I learned.
Yeah.
Because if you have your phone Wi-Fi on, it'll be hooked up to your router, and sometime it'll get interrupted because you have other things going on your router. But if you use the phone internet, you'll be good. So make sure you take your Wi-Fi off of your phone. Don't use the Wi-Fi on your phone. Take the Wi-Fi off of your phone, and you'll be good. Now you got the blank screen. Maybe you need your Wi-Fi. I don't know. My phone is a little bit different. We're going to wait till you come back on. If you can hear me, Delbert, put your Wi-Fi back on. Maybe that's the only way you probably can rock with this. But, you know, my time coming up, because I have family in Coney Island, so I was able to go and have that experience. Most guys who traveled from cross town to Coney Island, they had to go back home, right? For me, my father lived out there, my brothers and my sisters. So I was able to stay out there and soak up that culture. Guys would see me every day out in the park. So I had a different connection than most guys who maybe couldn't see and experience and smell that basketball aroma that Coney Island had. I always equated Coney Island to Harlem, right? If people don't know about Brooklyn, let me explain something to you. Coney Island is like the Harlem of Brooklyn. All right? Coney Island is like the Harlem of Brooklyn because everyone gets a name early. You know, guys come out of Coney Island with a lot of flash. And if you're not up to par on your wares, you was kind of left behind or probably was snapped on. But when I would go uptown, I would have that same feeling when I go out to Coney Island, right? Because a guy be 5 years old and he'll have a nickname already. He will already be like a young prodigy, no matter what it was, right? So if everybody who I tell that to, they like, damn, Pooh, you right on point with that. Because as a youngster, I was able to pick up on that early on. And then being out there throughout my high school and college years, seeing that. So, you good, Delbert?
Yeah, I hear you.
Good. Now, what made you go to Grady instead of Lincoln?
I chose Grady because it was close to home and it was close. It was not really a zone school, but I just chose Grady because I didn't want because everybody went to Lincoln. I just chose Grady, something different.
Yo, you know what's so crazy? I had Syracuse University assistant coach Alan Griffin up here. He was one of the top 8th graders. He said besides Lincoln being so far, he didn't want to go to Lincoln because everybody went there, like all the star players went there, and he wanted to play against them, right? So I understand that factor. And I don't know if you know, Lincoln and Grady had a huge rivalry from the 80s and up to the 90s. It don't exist now because they're not in the same leagues anymore. But
nope.
Did you know about those rivalries?
Oh yeah, I know a lot about it, especially when Grady finally beat Lincoln in 90 in the 89-90.
Talk that talk. Yo, Delbert, let me explain something to you, brother. I'm going down here when y'all see me going down here because I have like, old college letters, right? And then I have my scrapbook, right? So let me just go in here real quick, Delbert. Dive in here real quick. Look at this. Hold on. See that?
Yeah.
Right? During my years at Lincoln, I've never lost to Grady. And then when Grady finally took the reins over, I was proud of them. There was no hate. I was proud of them because I knew sooner or later that Grady would rise up. And a lot of people don't know this, is that Coach Rangel, may he rest in peace, and my coach Bobby Hartstein started out at Lincoln under Coach Mark Reiner. And then Jack Rangel went over to Grady and started his own dynasty. And by the time you got there, the wave kind of switched over, right? Grady kind of was doing their thing and winning city and state championships.
Yeah, 89-90. Yeah, I remember. I got that article when Grady surprised Lincoln, especially at Grady.
So can you talk about that game? Talk about that game and who were the players that was partaking in that game?
Oh man, you had Ephraim, Fresh, Lou Johnson. I don't know you heard about Lou Johnson.
I know. I played with Wes Johnson. Trust me, I know about the Johnson family. Their family to the Marburys. Yes. Wes Johnson was on my team. Yep.
Lou Johnson, James Hector. I don't know you remember. He's a Division II All-American. Power forward.
Who?
James Hector.
Yeah, I know James Hector. Yes. He was one of the reasons why they won. He was to dominate inside. Yeah, for sure.
And Big Jamal Phillips.
Yep.
Who outplayed Big James.
Ooh. Yo, you named some names right there. Salute to all those guys right there. And I had Ephraim on here earlier, and I had Mo Brown on here. And, Ephraim made a comment saying that the 1990 class was the best class in New York City history because they produced the most McDonald All-Americans that year in New York City. And also, and it was the same year that Grady won the state championship. So all of that kind of coincide together. And you can't really argue with that, even though there are other classes that I probably would say a little bit better than them. But when you got 5 All-Americans and Mashburn don't even make the McDonald All-American team, who am I to argue? And he was Mr. Basketball in 1990 in New York City, but didn't make the McDonald's All-American team.
Nope, he didn't. And we beat Mashburn too.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have a lot of bragging rights, and it's rightfully so. You went to Grady. Because listen, those our brothers across the street, as we would say.
So, I mean, let me ask you something. When you played, when you competed against Grady, was Grady tough in your era?
Oh yeah. They had Ice Leslie, right? Eric Ice Leslie. They had Pat Alphonse. They had
Antoine Lewis.
Sugar Bear. They had Willie Scurry. They had Laurel Hendricks. They had my guy Ra, Troy Douglas at the point. They were tough, man. They were tough. So we have a respect for each other that was never going to go away. So it wasn't like we was just smacking them. You saw it said, we slipped past them in overtime. My freshman year, we would blow them out. Sophomore year, it was okay. My junior year, that's when it really was competitive. It was really competitive. And we knew like in the next couple of years, Grady gonna be a problem. And they were. How was your years on JV? Before you start asking me questions, save your questions and let's get through and then you can ask your questions later. We get into all of that.
I didn't start. Again, I never started.
And that's okay. You were still a part of the team. You still could say that you was a Falcon.
Yeah, I never started. And I only got probably 6-7 minutes per game, but never started. Probably barely scored 2 points. I'm going to be honest with you.
No, look, brother, I think those things kind of propelled you to do what you're doing now, which is, right? Because we could talk about guys who play basketball, but how many of them turn out to be authors? How many of them say they have 2 books right now and working on a 3rd and 4th?
You're right.
Yeah, so that time, I think, made you become a more student of the game and a self-proclaimed basketball historian, especially on the Coney Island side.
I try. I'm still learning.
Right.
I'm still learning. I want to slip a comment. If it wasn't for Sean Pratt, I probably wouldn't write part 2. He played a big role writing part 2.
Salute to my guy Sean Pratt, another guest of the show, and a fellow Lincoln Rail Splinter. Salute to my guy Sean Pratt. Yes, for sure.
Because he's the one that told me that when you read part 1, he told me that he says, Delbert, you gotta go deeper than this. You gotta talk about the history. It's more stories to it than what you say in part 1. You gotta go into the history of it. I was like, I'm on the phone. I was like, yeah, I'm listening. I'm on the phone listening, and I'm like, all right, you gotta go deeper than that. That's not you wrote a good book, but you gotta go deeper than that. I was like, all right. And then I did my own research, and he was correct. He was right. And I did up a lot of research.
Right. So when I look into the 1970, right? Let's look at the 1970 book, right? Because the first names I would see in here is some of the guys who I know. Carlton Silk Owens, who was like my guy, another guy who I had up here. He was my first superstar basketball player that I've seen in person. Gave me a lot of shooting tips, and I was able to see his transformation, especially during his senior year. And no, Silk only played 2 years of high school basketball, him and Spice. Well, all the things that they accomplished, they only played 2 years of high school basketball, which is crazy to me. Mm-hmm. Silk and Spice played their sophomore year because they came into Lincoln as sophomores. The next year, Silk got shot, missed his whole junior year, and Spice ran the team. And then when they turned seniors, the PSAL made Spice ineligible, which is still debatable to this day. My coach said David did him wrong. And Silk played his senior year. And always said if we had Silk and Spice, I told Ross Strickland this, I think Lincoln would have won the state championship in 1984, which Ross Strickland and them won. But going back to the book, you mentioned Donnie and Eric Marbury, right?
Yes.
Do Coney Island basketball start off with those two?
Honestly, according to my research, that's the closest I came to something with the 70s and early 80s.
Because again, Eric Marbury, he was the first guy from Lincoln. And again, when I got to Lincoln, it stopped at him. I didn't hear about any other players that were before him, even though they probably were. But I think he was the staple of the inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So we talking about late 70s, early 80s, and then his brother came on, right? And then, you know, I popped on into the scene in 83. But Lincoln had a great tradition before that at Coney Island, but I didn't hear about anybody else before then. So maybe that's something you can look into to see who was the person that inspired Eric.
I'll write that question down tonight. Write that. Who inspired Eric? Okay.
Yeah, who inspired Eric? Because again, he was the one of one, especially in the Coney Island neighborhood parks and at Lincoln. And again, that's the person that I remember. But going back to you, do you think your coaches had it right? And this is not to dig more into your basketball stuff, but when we talk about you trying out your junior and senior years, do you think your coaches had it right because there's so many ball players at Grady during that time?
Honestly, that's a good question. I'm going to it may sound like I'm changing the topic, but I'm going back into your answer. I'm gonna use you an example because I've heard your shows that when you said that there was like about you said it was about 70 people who tried out when you made your varsity team.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You made your varsity team. I think there was, and you was able to get the 1 to 3 slots.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I can remember you talking about it.
Yep. Something similar to that.
Something similar to that. How about there's like about 70, 80 people trying out for Grady.
Woo.
I got cut.
No.
I didn't even make second cut. I got cut the first time.
And look, let's everybody understand this. When going out for these teams, the coaches kind of know who they want on the team already. Kind of found that out later on, even though I still, to this day, me and my coach always joke about, I always ask them, like, what did you see in me? Like, I knew there was so many other players that was better than me. So, again, situations and timing is a little bit different, depending on what the coaches are looking for, right?
Yes.
But I know we had way more girls than Grady. And Grady had way, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there was a lot of dudes at Grady. So I can imagine all the dudes at tryouts. For sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Exactly. And I mean, I don't know how trials was with Lincoln. Maybe it's the same way like as all high schools, but it was on a Wednesday. I can remember. It was on a Wednesday. We tried out. Thursday morning, they tell you, look on the list. Look on the list at the gym that if your name is on the list, I can cut. I look, see it. I'm like, all right. I'm like, all right. I was upset, but I had to think about it. I was like, all right. I didn't make it.
Wow. Yo, Gary Bird, what's up? Gary Bird said Grady had good players. Elgin Jeggets, Evans, Barry, Keaton, Gary Alexander, and also Rolando Blackman came from Grady.
Right. That's before my
Top
era.
players.
That's before your.
Yes, I know. I had him up here. We talked about that whole thing. Thanks a lot, Gary. I appreciate that. Said from that was from about 80 to 1984. Yep. Big ups to Coney Island for sure. So, but one thing I noticed about Grady, they had a lot of guys that came from the Flatbush area and guys from like Marbury section.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Brownsville, East New York, Bed-Stuy, Flatbush.
Yeah. Because Lincoln at that time had Coney Island sold up. So Jocko would go off to Allen and get a lot of these guys. Salute to Jocko, who I would love to have on the show one day. For sure. So,
yes.
How was your transition once you got to Casanova College? And where is it located?
It's upstate New York, and the closest college next to Casanova College is Syracuse University. Casanova's upstate. It's about 5 hours away from upstate New York, and it's a small college. It's about like 700 students.
Got you. Yo, hold on. Time out. Is that my guy, D Flight, on the check-in? Give me a thumbs up if this is my guy, D Flight, on the check-in. Captain Flight TV. Let me know if that's my guy, D Flight. I need you to come on the show, fam. He said if Dell would get you in a low post, it was over for you. Is that true? That's what he said. That's what he said.
Yeah. I had a good low post game. I was told that my low post game was. Because I used to idolize Charles Barkley. I used to just pound him in, and score with the fadeaway jump shot. I also had.
That is my guy, D Flight. Yo, D Flight, I just want to say this, King, man, we love you. I'm going to say that. We love you, brother. Man, you put so many smiles on people's faces. So many kids looked up to you. You did so much for your community. You always gave back. You always gave your time to the kids. And it's about time you celebrated, brother. You need to be celebrated. I know I was the older guard, but I was watching you from afar. And every time I came to Coney Island, always let you know that, brother. So whenever you're ready, I'm here for you. Anytime. Salute to my guy, D Flight, on the check-in. That's right. Another guy who got away from us at Lincoln and went to Grady and killed us.
Well, he went to Grady for 1 year, so yeah, he went to Grady for 1 year. He technically went to Prospect Heights.
Hold on. Now, do you understand what you're doing right now? Yo, hold on for a sec, fam, because Tech on the play. Yo, I didn't know that. All right, so we're going to give him time to come up here and tell his story. But I didn't know all that damage he did in 1 year at Grady. Yo, you froze up. Yo, Flight. This is why your story needs to be told, brother. Because things like this, I don't think people know. I didn't know that. Because he came after me. You froze up again, D.
Yeah, it's a book. You hear me now?
Yeah. Yep. So, because listen, I don't have the time, but I've touched on it a little bit. But now I gotta dive in a little deep, especially when he comes on the show to find out some of those backstories, because knowing what he did and what he was able to accomplish at Providence and overseas, and he only did it at Grady for 1 year. Just imagine. And I need to know why the hell he go to Prospect Heights. That's another question I need to know.
He dominated Prospect Heights, my good Glenn.
I can imagine. That's what I'm saying. You're gonna tell me I know. Like, not too many people was gonna be able to stop him anyway, no matter where he played. But the fact that he played there 3 years, and only played at Grady 1 year, which is amazing. And then I need to know why he transferred. What made him go out to Prospect Park in the first place? Those are the things and stories that when they write about deep flight, now how you got, there's only going to be a portion, right? There's only going to be a portion. And this is why I tell guys it's good that they tell their story. I've been in education over 20 years, and I taught history for about 10 of those years. The amount of stories that other people write about us, and we don't get a chance to write our own stories, is saddening. Right? It's very sad. So when you hear these stories and then you hear them from somebody else who's probably just guessing or probably don't have all the facts, now we could just get it directly from the person. So nobody else have to write our stories. Give me a check, Del. Make sure you're good. Get next to your Wi-Fi, brother. Get it. All right, cool. How was life up in Casanova for you? Can't hear you. Appreciate you, Gary Bird. Appreciate you. Thank you. The Frank Thomas tournament in Coney Island. Wow. Frank Thompson. Again, somebody else I need to know about and know the history about these tournaments. These are things that we want to make sure that we get out there and that these people never be forgotten. Delbert, did you ever hear about the Frank Thompson tournament? Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Yeah, he said that, D. He said that. He said that 288 was his park. And he would go down there, play Utah, play 21, and that's how he kind of developed his game. 288, that's what a lot of early games was played. And of course, the park right downstairs from your building on 23rd Street. Hello? You there? Can't hear you. Turn your mic on. Turn your mic on. Can't hear you. So we want to make sure, again, technical difficulties on his part. I think he's in a bad place where his reception is not as good. But listen, the reason why we do this, so these parks can be revered and the kids can understand the legacy that they're following. Because one thing I noticed, a lot of the kids they're kind of removed from the history. We was forced to know who came before us. We knew through the older guards, right? And a lot of times kids are not playing with the older generation. We had to fight for positions on the court. We had to fight to get picked. We had to fight just to get a turn so we can have our five so we can go against the older guys. So it was training grounds for us. So if we didn't know about the older guys, some of the guys would tell us about it. And since a lot of us aren't out there in the parks like we used to be, there's a disconnect with the kids and the youth. So I want to try to bridge that gap so they have a place so they can come and get the history. They have a place so they can come and get these stories so they know what not to do. And they can take some advice from the guys who come on the platform and the girls who come on the platform so they can know what better path to choose for themselves. Because truth be told, a lot of us didn't have that. A lot of us were the first in our families to go to college. A lot of us were the first ones to get a scholarship and also graduate. If we didn't have the VHS tapes and it was just talking about the end process for most of the pros, we didn't get the stories. We didn't get the heartbreaks. Even though we heard them in our neighborhood, but a lot of time it was just hearsay. We didn't get it from the person direct. So now we're able to do that. So we want to take advantage of this time now that we're not playing anymore and we're getting older. It should be, I know it's an honor for me, but it should be important to all of us out there to spread the knowledge and to spread the history, because we did make history. No matter if you wasn't the star, no matter if you were just a guy on the block who was getting busy playing with the kids in the neighborhoods and they looked up to you, no matter if you was a college All-American, no matter if you was an NBA star, it don't make a difference what level. We all made a difference in some way. And we have to remember that. Say something, Delbert. I need to hear you. Still can't hear you, fam. So this is why it's important. And we're going to be having so many amazing guests come up here. I just got one locked in for next week. This one is going to blow your mind. I have an NBA champion. I'm not going to say who. We have an official New York City great and NBA champion coming on next week. Actually, the day after Delbert comic book drop. Having them on that Monday. So when y'all see me, I'm going to be promoting heavy on my Instagram and Facebook, my TikTok and Twitter. I may put some on my Spotify channel too. We on Spotify as well, Google, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts. But next week, we're definitely going to have an NBA champion coming on the New York City Basketball Network Basketball Heads Live show. I still can't hear you. Still can't hear you. Can't hear you. Turn your mic on. Turn your mic on. Go to your screen and turn your mic on. So I'm going to need everybody to tap in. We need to fill this room up and show them some love. And I say this for every guest, but it's going to be an honor to have this gentleman on next week, because it's one of the guys who I looked up to coming up, playing in the tournaments. And, you know, he played with a legendary high school in New York City, which has been closed for a long time. Played with some legendary players. Played with some, definitely a Hall of Famer was on his team. Actually, I think 2 Hall of Famers was on his team. And he's someone that made New York City proud. I'm not going to let it out the bag yet. Y'all just got to tune in and figure out who my guest is going to be for Monday, October 10th. An NBA champion, 2-time NBA champion. I hear you now, brother. All right, you good? You hear me? I don't know what's going on with my guest connection. Maybe we'll have to reschedule so he can get his Wi-Fi straight. But we definitely want to promote his book. I'm glad I got to see my guy D Flight on the check-in. It means a lot. I've been reaching out to you a lot. I know you've been seeing my DMs. My guy Delbert Blair's books. The History of Coney Island Basketball, 1970 to 1980 and 1980 to 1990. This is definitely, oh, look. See, told y'all. That Lincoln-Grady rivalry, there was nothing like it. It was like North Carolina and Duke. It was like the Boston Celtics and Los Angeles Lakers. We was literally down the block from each other, and the games was standing room only. And when we played, so many college coaches would be in the building. Some of the students couldn't even get in because there was so many college coaches there. And the rivalries was something that I'll never forget. And even though we battled, even though we went to war, after the games, we would hang out. And even to this day, a lot of us are still friends. And we remember those days. Because even though you can battle against someone, go head to head in competition, you can still be friends. And we didn't, play that being friends on the court. We didn't want none of that. See me after the game. And even though there was rivalries, I never heard of a Lincoln-Grady fight. Never happened during my era. But the competitiveness and the atmosphere was always level 5. Right? On a scale of 1 to 5, always level 5. Yeah. Look, I say Coney Island was its own entity. Coney Island was its own entity. Again, Troy Black, I agree. You had Brooklyn, and then you had Coney Island. And Coney Island is still part of Brooklyn, but it was just a different atmosphere. You guys had the rods. People always wanted to go out there and visit. You had the beach. So much going on. And then everyone, it was like a Harlem atmosphere. From the nice cars to kids getting nicknames. And of course, they always said Lincoln got the baddest girls, and we had the best cheerleaders. Oh, yeah. And we talking about in New York City. So all of that was a part of Coney Island. All right, we're going to try this again, Delbert. If not, we probably going to have to reschedule, my brother. Because you're still freezing up. Are you by your router? Can you say something? So y'all can check out Shamanique Watt right there. You see her in the back. She's a Lincoln alum, and she also is the assistant coach at Lincoln right now as we speak. And she was also part of one of the best women's pro division league teams in No Limit, coached by my guy Munch. Coach Munch, salute. These girls won 14 summer championships in 2 years, 5 in 2021 and 9 in 2022. All right. So just to make sure everybody go subscribe. Scroll down. If you haven't watched shows, I'm talking about, I got Rolando Blackman, Jerry Ice Reynolds, Kenny Anderson, Ross Strickland, Sean Williams, Spike Silk, Carlton Silk Owens, Spice Gilpatrick, Bobby Hartstein. I got Lloyd Sweet Pea Daniels. They all on the check-in. They all go scroll down. So many names. So many names. Who else? Let me just give, because I can't even name all the people who I've had on this show. Ephraim Whitehead, Katrina Plummer, like I mentioned, Coach Ray Haskins, Charnel Scott, John Askews, Norm Roberts, the coach from Kansas, had him on the show. Dow Flowers, Gerald Green, John Johnson, James Majors. We talking about heavy hitters. Also had NBA Hall of Famer Charlie Scott. Charlie Scott was the first African-American player to play at North Carolina and in the ACC. He was the first scholarship player, black player to play in the ACC. He was so good and so smart. He went to Stuyvesant High School, but had to leave because the coach wouldn't let him play on the team. So he was forced to go down to Laurinburg Institute. For those of you who know about the legendary Laurinburg Institute, was founded by a black man. Some of the things I didn't even know. Then from Laurinburg, he went on to North Carolina. Then played for the Boston Celtics. Won the NBA championship there. He also was an Olympic gold medalist. And now he is a Hall of Famer. Straight from New York City. Straight from Harlem, New York. So we meet to make sure we make those connections. Scroll down to my page. Just keep scrolling down. I know a lot of times people get lost up in seeing so many of the basketball games and my tournament that I have in Brevard, that y'all just think that these other shows don't exist. But if you scroll down, trust me, you'll be in basketball heaven. That Frank Thompson tournament is known as the more effective efficient tournaments in the history of Coney Island. All those that paved the way have basically played in that tough, solid tournament before my time. Flight. This is why it's important. I need to know about these things. I didn't know. And it probably was happening in between my era, because I didn't play in any tournaments on Coney Island, because I played with the Broncos and I was playing with a lot of tournaments on the other side of town. But now that I know that, I definitely need to know some more about that Frank Thompson tournament. Troy Black, what up? Thank you, brother. And I have a whole bunch of shows that I haven't even put out yet, honestly. Hold on for a sec. Just give you an idea, right? These just the shows I haven't put up yet. Also had Missouri Derek Chivas up here, Houston Rockets, and Holy Cross great. Who else? Russ Williams, Ricky Rivers. Everybody know about the Ricky Rivers tournament down at Tillery Park. Fun sport. my guy Mike Lowry, Terrence Rencher, the 1991 Player of the Year, leading scorer for the Texas Longhorns. Al Horford, Julius Allen. Who else? Sadat X, Hedek, right? Tim Hedek Gittins. Y'all know. Of course, you know about Norm Richardson, your little brother Flight. He was up here. I had the CEO of the Gersh tournament, my guy DP. He was up here. Kenny Parker, DJ Kenny Parker, who is the brother of KRS-One. He was my teammate at Lincoln. He's up here. Barbito Garcia, hip-hop legend, basketball aficionado, and he's like the king sneakerhead. He's the reason why people are sneakerheads to this day and celebrate sneakers the way they do. Barbito Garcia. Ed Booger Smith, Pat Alphonse, Victoria Montos, before she became the Lincoln head coach. Pat Alphonse, Jonathan Anderson, I mentioned Rolando Blackman, Glenn Hagin. Let me tell you something about Glenn Hagin, right? He played at St. Bonaventure. He's from Rochester, New York. He was so good that when Red Auerbach told him that they don't need any more scorers, when he was killing everybody during the summer leagues in the Boston Celtics camp, he told Red Auerbach, rest in peace, to F himself and got blackballed from the NBA. Then went to the CBA, or it was the ABA at the time, and he was killing. Y'all need to check out his story. He holds no bars. I had another upstate great, Tiki Maybin. For those that don't know about Tiki Maybin and his incredible story, had him on the show. I had Kennard Robinson on the show, Tony Childs on the show, Ted Gustis on the show. Who else? I had Skip to my Lou, Rayford Austin on the show, Seth Marshall on the show, Red Tripp, Staten Island Great on the show, Daryl Showtime Hills, he was on the show, Shane the Dribble Machine, he was on the show. I had Kareem, the Best Kept Secret, on the show. Renee Taylor, one of the best female players in New York City history, on the show. My guy Tony Paris on the show. Nicole Milios. Nicole Milios right now is on track to become one of the top scorers in New York City history for both boys and girls. She scored 2,000 points last year, which is crazy. No, in 2 years, she scored 2,000 points. Who else I had on the show? Ralph James on the show. I could go on and on. Andre McCullum on the show. I had Jerry McCullum on the show. Anthony Pale on the show. Gary McLean. Gary McLean with the 1985 NCAA championship MVP. Straight from Long Island. He was on the show. Melshawn Scott on the show. My guy Marvin Roberts, who was the Fight Ball. If y'all want to check out some real tough basketball, go to YouTube and check out Fight Ball. He was on the show. Had Irv Walker on the show. Had Gary Irvin on the show. Malcolm Grant on the show. Ted Portwine on the show, which I just put up. I had Abdul Fox on the show. Mel Davis, New York City great. St. John's Boys High and New York Knicks great. He was on the show. Darnell Williams on the show from Xavier. Man, so many guests. I had Cleveland State great Mousy McFadden on the show. These are shows I didn't even put up yet. So I'm shooting shows and I'm going to take a break in December. And I'm just going to release a whole bunch of shows all the way up going to the new year. So please, stay tuned. I had my guy, Jalon Holmes on the show. Carlos Easterlin on the show. Black Jack Ryan on the show. Man, LaRon Mapp on the show. Listen. I could go on and on and on and on for days. Yes, Coach Green definitely had him on the show, for sure. Gene Carroll would be a good one. Definitely would be a good one. Yes, Troy, I told you I had at least 4 referees up. I had 3 referees so far. Actually 4, including Ray Haskins. And I'm having the 5th on next week. Tiny Morton was my first guest. When I first started this show, that's my point guard, my former point guard. He was my first guest. I'll get him back on the show. During that time, Instagram, I was doing my show on Instagram, and they weren't allowing me to save our stories back then. So I have Tiny on another show, which he'll be a part of, which I'm going to put up. So thank you. Thank you to everyone. Salute my guy, Delbert Prince. Please support his books. Support his books. You go to Amazon, Google Read, wherever you need to go to support this brother. All right? He's doing a hell of a job. Thank you for joining us. Again, sorry for the interruptions, but we do what we got to do to make sure that we bring you this content on a daily basis. I'd like to thank everybody on the check-in. My guy, Troy Black. Salute my guy, Frederick, FB Blue. My guy, D Flight. Appreciate you, brother. Gary Bird, appreciate you. Sean James, appreciate you, brother. Keith Wisdom, appreciate you. Thank you for stopping by and tuning in to Basketball Heads Live, the New York City Basketball Network. Cop some of this merch, baby. We got it here. Right? We got these T-shirts. See how we doing it? Got to keep promoting every day, baby. $20 for the T-shirts. $25 for the hats. $35 for the sweatshirts. $35 for the polo shirts. See? The polo shirts right here. Got the nice stitching embroidery right here. I've been showing the hoodies all the time. So this is how we keep the platform going. I have no sponsors. Do it all myself and my team. So appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming through. Spread the word. Appreciate you, Flight. Remember what I said. Whenever you're ready, just hit me up and say you're ready. All right, we're going to set up a nice day for you, brother. Make sure that everybody's tuning in. Remember, next Monday is going down. I have a 2-time NBA champion coming through. Not going to let it out the bag yet. Just keep subscribing to the channel. Keep supporting. Spread the word. Let everybody know New York City has a platform for basketball. And we number one, baby. The official home for New York City basketball. Peace.